Hello, students, and welcome to this unit, which is going to be on literary terms and terminology. And I am Dr. Shyaonti Talwar, who will be engaging for this unit with you. So, in this unit, we are going to be looking at some literary terms, like I said, and the first in this category is allegory. Now, what is allegory? If you look at this visual, okay, I'm sure you're familiar with this story of the hare and the tortoise. They both run a race, and the tortoise, of course, is very slow, and the hare runs very fast. And then just before the finish line, the hare takes a nap, and it says, "Okay, the tortoise is going to take a lot of time to catch up, so let me just sleep for some time." And the hare falls asleep. In the meantime, the tortoise walks slowly and steadily, and it crosses the finishing line and it wins the race. So, the moral, of course, is slow and steady wins the race. Of course, now there are many alternative versions of the story, but if we were to look at this story is an allegory. Okay, so through the characters or through the qualities of the hare and the tortoise, the story is giving us a very important message, right? The message being that if you are consistent, even if you are not very fast, or even if you're not the brightest or the sharpest or the most smartest or the most brilliant performer or achiever, you still have a chance if you do not give up. So, even if you are slow, but you are consistent, you are perseverant, you can still win the race. Now, winning the race is also a metaphor. Winning the race would stand for achieving something. So, some significant achievement, right? So, here, this whole story becomes an allegory, and it stands for an important life um, life value or life message, right? But it is told to us through a story. So, this is what an allegory is. An allegory always uses a very simple plot structure or very simple characters or a very simple narrative to talk about something which is quite profound, which is very complex, and which perhaps is of some political, social, or cultural relevance. So, writers use allegory as a literary device, and like I was saying, that a, allegory is a device or a technique in which the narrative, you know, has either the characters or the plot or the events which are used to deliver a broader message, right? And message about things that are happening out there in the real world, and occurrences and events or political upheavals, historic events that are happening out there, right? So it is a simple way to convey a complex idea and to also convey maybe partly hidden or partly concealed meanings. So the characters in an allegory should not be looked at as characters, instead, they should be looked at as symbols, symbolic figures, right? And their actions and the imagery which the characters invoke or the events they are a part of, they also should be understood in a symbolic sense. So, over here, like in the hare and the tortoise story, it's actually not the hare stands for someone who's very fast, who is very competitive, who is very confident in themselves. The tortoise, on the other hand, stands for someone who is normally not looked at as a go getter by society, or someone who is normally a little low profile, maybe not, maybe average in terms of performance or in terms of achievements, right? So this is so in the sense, these characters have a symbolic relevance, right? So they function as instruments in conveying a larger truth. So, and that this brings us to the fifth point on the slide, that an allegory helps convey the moral, spiritual, or political meaning the author wishes to convey, right? Now we have there's a very interesting allegory in literature. If I had to give you an example, I would give you Plato's allegory of the cave. So Plato in his work comes up with the allegory, with the metaphor of the cave. So he talks about this cave, which is populated with cavemen, right? Cave people. So these people live inside the cave, and that cave is their reality. They have never stepped out of the cave, so they look at shadows, they look at illusions, and they think, oh, this is the whole world. This is all there is to reality, right? So they infer different meanings from the shadows that are projected on the wall of the cave, till one day one of them steps out of the cave, and that person goes out into the outside world, right? And then that person comes back, and this person tries to tell the others that, oh, there's a whole world out there waiting to be explored, waiting to be discovered. This is not all, this cave is not all. But the cave people don't believe him or her. We don't know whether it was a man or a woman. So the cave people don't believe this person because they have never stepped out of the cave. So through this allegory, uh, the writer, in this case, the Plato, the philosopher, is trying to uh, tell us about knowledge and enlightenment. What The circle that we are a part of is like a cave, and we normally don't want to move out of that circle, out of that confined realm of knowledge that we are familiar with, that we are comfortable with, and we refuse to acknowledge the presence of a bigger, more complex, a wider world out there, populated by different kinds of people. And then, if one of us makes this journey and that person tries to come back and tell us about this journey, we find it very, very uncomfortable, right? We are not comfortable with the idea of actually going out of that cave, and we continue to live in this make believe world thinking that this is the real world. So we are not ready to undertake the journey from ignorance to enlightenment. So the act of moving out of the cave is like the act of moving out of the realm of the familiar into the domain of the unfamiliar, which we are normally not ready to do. If you read Richard Bach's novel Jonathan Livingstone Seagull, uh, this novel also talks about a similar, it uses the allegory of seagulls, which are a kind of species of birds. And out of them, one bird wants to fly, and the other birds tell that bird, no, 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 you're not supposed to fly, you're only supposed to hop. And this bird says, no, I want to fly. So it's something like that. So through an allegory, the writer tries to give us a more profound message, and that's what an allegory is all about.